Hello, everyone, anyone, whoever this may be. Hopefully, it's those of you who's asked me to do one of these to check in to let you all know that I'm still here, still kicking, still doing things and everything. I woke up a couple weeks ago to another comment on one of my videos from one of the 500 people who watch one of my videos. And it was just saying, "Where have you been? We miss you. We want to know what you've been up to." And it got too much for me. I couldn't spend another probably I could spend another day away because here it is 3 weeks later and I'm finally making something like this, but I wanted to let everyone know what I've been doing with my life. I mean, the short answer is I have been living my life since starting this channel and never posting to it. I mean, I have what, like 9 videos maybe? And I have a serious group of hardcore fans who are always very, very just lovely in the comments, as well as some haters. How y'all doing? But I wanted to make this for anyone who's wondered about me, and I know that there must be some questions that come up, so made myself a nice big cup of coffee, and I just wanted to share what's been going on for the past few years. Obviously, as you can probably tell, I'm looking great. I have definitely grown and matured quite a lot. I want to put a side-by-side comparison of the boy that I was in the first few videos and the man that I've become, and it's the transformation has been amazing. It has been life and it has been growth, and all growth is painful. Growth is change and change is pain, and it's the most rewarding thing one can go through in this life. I have been to Burning Man. I I don't even know when the first video came out, probably had already gone again since then, but now I've been 5 times. Probably going to be going again this year, 6th. My playa name is, if anyone is familiar with Burning Man, my playa name is Atlas, who bore the sky upon his shoulders. I have another channel that I'm making. It's called Viking Improvement Kingdom because I got a tattoo that represents a lot of what I love, and I obviously always wear the hammer. I love Viking history, story, mythology, and so that's what the channel Viking Improvement Kingdom. I will leave links to it. That's what it's about. It is about personal development, self improvement, and personal empowerment through Viking story, mythology, and ethos, aphorisms, and philosophy. So I partnered up with a good friend of mine, and we are starting to produce that. And some of it is going to be a little bit different from the stuff that I post. It's going to be more like self improvement kind of thing, and self improvement has gotten something of a reputation on YouTube. Some people say that it's just completely ineffectual. Some people think that it's all only part of the what is called the red pill community. I really don't think I'm ever going to call myself a red pill content creator because I'm not really ever going to do dating advice. It's just I'm not that kind of content creator. So I'm hopefully going to just be giving advice on the things and ways that I've improved my life and hoping that that is useful for other people to improve theirs because it's worked for me. It has worked incredibly for me. Last year, just gonna tell you a quick story. Last year, I went to Iceland and I absolutely loved it. I spent 10 days hitchhiking around the ring road in the middle of summer, and it was pretty cold for summer. And I didn't have a tent or a sleeping bag, and I was camping the entire time. So I had my big Highland Winter's Great kilt, and that was keeping me warm in the nights. And it was a wild and lovely experience. Um, yeah, that was really cool, and I got to see the magical aliveness of Iceland. It is a living place. That is one of the things that I noticed most certainly about Iceland. It's alive. It's real. Super cool spot. The year before that, in 2023, One, I went to something called the Fairy Creek protests because I wanted to protest against a company's cutting down of old growth forest trees. And I had a really fun time protesting. I was awake for 30 hours, which was fun. And for 7 of those hours, I was up to my shoulder in a hard block. So think of it like a steel tube going down into the road, and at the bottom of which is a little loop welded into the base. And I had a chain around my wrist, and I had a carabiner, and I went down and I clicked the carabiner onto the loop, and I stayed there. And we were inside of a wooden construction, and police came and they cut their way into the obstruction. They asked me to move. I said no. They asked if I understood that if I did not move because of an injunction and a court order, that I would be subject to arrest. I told them I understood. They asked me if I'd move, and I'd say no, and so they arrested me. And for the next, I was in there for around 2 hours, waiting for the cops to come and everything. Then they cut their way in, and the cops took a jackhammer and they started obliterating the road right next to my head. To their credit, they put protective gear on me. They put a blanket over me, ear protection, eye protection, a big old helmet, and they jackhammered right next to me for 4 hours. They were trying to get me out of there, and numerous times they were trying to compromise me, getting you to talk. And I also realized in the moment that if, for instance, I was the kind of person who grew uncomfortable around lack of contact, lack of interacting with people, and if I was, had a helmet on and the blanket, the whole shebang, they would become my only point of contact. And in that instance, it would be a lot more likely that I would compromise myself. But you should have seen it. Cool as a cucumber. Good times. Uh, don't exactly want to sing their praises too high, because while they were putting protective gear on me, there were a lot of other people that they did not put protective gear on. It was just a really bad situation, and it still remains to this day a very bad situation. So rough times. But after all of that, I got arrested. When I was taking the mugshot, I was holding up the board and I was like looking at it with a smirk, just like best day ever. It was the best day ever. And so after that, I secured legal counsel and I got representation and I went to court. I obviously pled guilty immediately because they videotaped the whole thing. I got sentenced to 9 days and actually 10 days in jail. One day having counted as being served for the time I spent in custody with the cops, and I only had to serve 2/3 of it on good behavior. So yeah, December of 2022, I went to jail for 6 days, and it was obviously a very like low security facility. I wasn't in there with hardened criminals. Most of the guys that were in there, honestly, they had just by one method or another been screwed over by the legal system. That was it. So knowing that I was going to jail, I had spent a year bulking and working out and getting ready for it. And I didn't really even need to, but it was pretty funny because there were still pandemic rules going on. So in my cell block, they would only let 8 of us out at a time, and it was the same 8 every time. And this was called your cell block. And we never actually made it to Gen Pop because you have to spend a week in confinement in a cell block and then you get released to Gen Pop or general population. But for the 6 days that I was there, I was the big guy in my cell block, and that was a very interesting experience. I was walking around just, slowly, confidently, and I was showing respect. I even had a security guard like talking to me sort of, and she looked at me again, female prison guard, like very low security place. They were not worried about us at all. But she looked at me and she's like, "What are you doing in here? Like, you don't belong here." And I said, "I know, it's this whole thing with like Fairy Creek and that." And she's like, "Oh, the protest. Yeah, okay, all right, yeah. Don't come back." I was like, "I'm not gonna come back. I have no immediate plans on returning to this place." But I did it. I did it for a cause I believe in, and I spent time in jail, and that was interesting. I'd never done that before. So, yeah, that was really wild. Also, every in the cell block there were 60 rooms. No, no, pardon me. There are 30 rooms with 60 inmates, and eight of us were allowed at a time. Each room had two bunks. We all know the stories about top bunk, lower bunk, but the entire time I was there, I did not have a cellmate. It was literally just me. So sure, I was top bunk, didn't mean anything. Um, every room also had a TV in it, which I thought was really interesting. Entire time I was in there, my TV didn't work. So, and because of the whole quarantine thing, I spent about 22 and a half hours in my cell every day. So for 22 and a half hours, I had no contact with a person and no screen. So I was meditating, I was reading books. I read two pretty chunky books in there. I was doing crossword puzzles, working out, stretching. I would lie back and watch movies in my head. It was the most profound dopamine detox ever. I decided early on that I was going to view it like a vipassana, like a meditative retreat. I did not want to go in there and think to myself like, how woe is me, this is the worst case, this is the worst thing ever, all this stuff. I had my freedom taken from me. I was cuffed and put in the back of a paddy wagon that was very cold, and in the middle of December driven 2 hours in the cold to a facility, and I had every decision taken away from me. I was imprisoned. I couldn't have been happier. I also want to say a quick word. Yeah, for 6 days. That's nothing. Anybody who is experiencing the loss of having a loved one in an incarcerated situation for long periods of time, I can't even begin to describe to you how much my heart goes out to you, because that would be a very difficult situation. Very, very, very. I have sympathy for you. I have love and sympathy so much for you. But for me, it was fun because I'm that kind of asshole. And I loved every moment of it. There were three times inside. I was like focusing down on the boredom and the fact that my freedom was gone from me, and just started laughing. I just burst into this uncontrollable laughter because it was so wildly funny. I was laughing at the joke this all is. It's all a joke. And it's pretty damn funny. So, yeah, gonna touch on some of my former videos. I actually might even do a couple of reviews of my old work now that it's been flipping 7 years since I started this whole thing. The most popular among all of it, obviously, is my optimistic nihilism video. And I want everyone to know that is exactly how I feel. Completely the same. Optimistic nihilist. Almost absurdist nihilist nowadays. Nihilism gets a really bad rap, being very depressive. And I understand that if it's just nihilism, that does kind of come with the territory of being depressive. Oh, nothing matters. Nothing's real. Everyone dies. May as well not try. That is absolutely not my version of nihilism. My version is nothing matters, nothing's real, everyone dies, no one's gonna remember I was here. It's as if my life never happened. In 1,000 years, no one will know I was here. And even if they do, I'll be dead, I'll be gone, I won't know, because I don't believe there's an afterlife or a god or spirits or anything like that. So, what do I have left? What's left? This. Here and now. Today is all you get. This has never happened before. This will never happen again. You have this one instance to experience this moment. And you get to decide how you experience it. For me, doesn't matter where I am. whether I'm standing naked under the waterfall of Gljufrabui in Iceland, or confined in a little box in prison with the biggest smile on my face. Because everything is beautiful to me. Everything is a part of life. It is all so lovely. It is all so wonderful. It is absurd how much I have loved my life, how wonderful my life has been. Ah, luckily, also for me, is that I know what I want to do with my life, with my limited time here. Yes, I want to enjoy time spent with loved ones, and I want to go on beautiful walks and go to music festivals and yeah, play video games sometimes and just fire spin. Fire spinning is the flippin' coolest thing. What I really want to do, what has often been said by me and has I've always known as my raison d'etre. What I really love is writing. I love to write. I write every single day. I have written now 10 books. I've done an audiobook of one of them, and I also self-published one of them to the popular purchase online company. I'm not going to mention its name here because they don't deserve any more advertisement, even though I'm publishing through them. But I put the link in the post in that with the optimistic nihilism video just to make sure everyone who wanted to could go buy it. And I think I have like 20 purchases on it. So excited. But it was never about that. It was always only ever about writing for the sake of how much I loved writing. And I really do. I'm very fortunate to know what it is I love most in this world. Additionally to living its for its own sake, I love writing. I love turning all the wild and fantastical experiences that I've had and making from them content and producing interesting instances for characters and interesting lessons, I think, that I want to teach and entertaining ideas that I think perhaps aren't correct, but one of my characters does, and so he'll express that idea as fervently as if it were his religion, if some not sometimes it being a religion. Yeah, writing is one of the most valuable things that humans can do. I also still believe vehemently in happiness. There are some people who will say that happiness is like it's fluff and it's not really it isn't really a goal that you should focus on. You should focus on other things off the back of which happiness will come, like personal fulfillment or finding a purpose in your life for which to achieve that personal fulfillment. I say that these are also true, not mutually exclusive. I think that these are also effective ways to achieve happiness. For me, I mean, being happy in my life is my goal. It's from what I derive the most fulfillment. As I said in my last video, do it for you. Happiness is work. Think of it like a muscle. Happiness is something that you can work on, that you can improve. No one's making you, no one should, but you get to decide how you interact with this world. For me, happiness and being happy and enjoying my time here has always been the most wonderful way of doing so. If that's childish, I don't care. I'm going to stay childish for the rest of time, for the rest of my time, I should specify, because it has just been so wonderful. I enjoy everything. And I want to make a quick delineation between, excuse me, oh, that's a lot of coffee. Delineation between whether or not I am really like, I don't want to say suffer, because suffering is a very specific thing, and enjoyment is could be considered to be its opposite. You know, suffering on one end, enjoyment on the other. I look at it very differently, where there's it's hard to describe, but I look at it in that I never suffer and I enjoy everything, even if it hurts. When I was in Iceland, for instance, I was chasing down a piece of garbage that I had accidentally foolishly let fly away in the wind, and I was running across a field of stones, and I slipped my foot started sliding and then it turned under me and then I just fell and it just felt bad. I felt bad and I could feel the tendons in my ankle just wrench. I could hear them all just like crack, 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 one by one, like a guitar string being scraped by a fork. It was so painful. And I couldn't walk. I was hobbled the rest of the time I was in Iceland. I was literally limping the rest of the time. And I landed and I looked down and I looked at my foot and I wiggled my ankle as much as that hurt, threw my head back in just total relief because it wasn't broken. And then again, I just laughed. I laughed in the pain. I laughed in the face of how wild the rest of my time would get to be. I had to hitchhike and I got to experience the lows, the depths of these emotions because now I'm in a foreign country where I'm trying to hitchhike and walk my way everywhere and now I got a twisted ankle and it was twisted. Oh my God, you should have seen it swell up. It was wild. And I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed every second of that madness, that utter unreserved life. Again, perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps I actually secretly am suffering. Although recently I actually went and sought out therapy. I saw a therapist and we had 3 sessions. And at the end of the third, she said, I never want to see you again. I think I'm cured. But honestly, what I was looking for was anything that I might be repressing because I knew for a long time, I've known for a long time that my philosophy, this whole enjoying everything, today is all you get, optimistic nihilism, happiness, it does have the high potential for leading you down something of a toxic positivity mindset, which can itself end up leaving all kinds of little triggers hidden in your subconscious and have you like repressing something that will manifest into some serious issues later on. That was that was something that I wanted to make sure that I wasn't accidentally setting myself up for. So I went, we talked, and she said at the end of it that she saw no specific red flags in my mind, essentially. And oh, it's such a wild and wonderful experience, guys. I highly suggest therapy to everybody, even if you think you're peachy keen like I did. The activity of being so radically honest, and that's what I called it, my radical honesty. I decided I'm going to be just radically honest. I am going to not hide anything. If there's anything that I think, whether it be about my past, about sex, about jealousy, about whom I envy or what I think I'm lacking, I was going to be completely honest. And even if I did not know that it was the case, I was going to explore every single little twinge that I might try and hide from a person. It was a very eye-opening experience. I've grown so much because of it, just because I realized I lied. I was lying about lots of things uselessly for no reason. I was lying because I was protecting the idea of myself, the performance that was West the Wizard. I was protecting that idea. But from who? And then I realized I was protecting it from the people I love most in this world because I wanted them to maintain their opinion of me, even though I I don't have many skeletons in the closet. I'm not some monster. Don't look too deeply. But it was, I didn't need to be lying as much as I was. And so I opened myself up to radical honesty and it bled into my everyday life. Such a good experience. Such a good experience. Yeah. A couple weeks ago, I was at a Beltane festival celebration out in the beautiful Valhalla Mountains. And I mean, not even, bringing up the whole Viking thing, but I was just there. Actually, I'm going to bring up the whole Viking thing. What am I talking about? I was there by a river with that it was glacial fed. We were doing cold plunges every morning. It was awful. Loved it. Um, and there we had a roaring fire going, and it was just me and some of my closest friends. We were all sitting in chairs around this fire next to this freezing cold river with horns of mead, literal horns of mead in hand. And it was raining. Not exceptionally hard, but it was raining pretty good. And I was wearing my cloak and furs, and it was very, very Viking-esque. And so much of it was aesthetic. So much of it was what we think Viking culture looked like because of movies and TV shows. And yet the the connection that I felt, not necessarily to my own past and history, although I do have some Viking heritage, sure, whatever, or Nordic heritage. I suppose Viking was a job, but again, who cares? Even though it was all mostly performative, just the incredible connection that I felt. It was, for lack of a better way of describing it, spiritual. Because essentially, to me at least, and forever, the word spiritual means connection. Now, if I get angry comments talking about how spiritual is a very specific thing and it has to mean a connection to specific properties of the universe, i.e., gods or souls or literally spirits, then no, it wasn't spiritual in that sense. Oops, I don't care. It was wonderful. It was a good time. And things like that, that's what I've been doing my time. Things like that is what I've been doing my time with. Things like that. And it's been great. Ooh, I want to tell you a story about Burning Man last year. So I've been to Burning Man 5 times now. I'll be going again this year, the sixth. Very excited for that. I was Atlas again after having spent 3 years away. I went 19, had to skip 20, had to skip 21, but I could go back in 22. So it was great. Um, and we went back, and it was the most difficult year we'd ever done at Burning Man. Easily the most difficult. It was everything piled on top of everything. In addition to it being a 3-year rebuild after, all this time spent away, it was one of the hottest years that they'd had. There was some of the most winds they'd ever had, so it was like exceptionally dustier than normal. Which, if you know anything about Burning Man, the two first things you know is that it's hot and dusty. So it to be slightly more of those two things is just a good old time. Very fun. And then the entire camp that I was with, we all got Norwalk virus. Everyone got noro disease, which is like it's an 8 to 20 hour stomach bug with diarrhea and vomiting. And when you have that in the desert already, it was, oh my god, guys, it was unbearable. I slept part of the night in the porta potty. It was so rough. Ah, but after all of that and trying to get people to stick around a camp to do work and trying to deal with the emotions and egos of people, including my own ego and emotion came out and was a very ugly beast. Horned too. In spite of all of that, every time I broke down, built myself back up, broke down again, built myself back up, broke down again, built myself back up, so that by the end of it, I felt as exhausted as I felt so powerful through the exhaustion. We suffered the storm and we pulled through. We got the ship to shore. And it was just such a beautiful, beautiful experience. I am so thankful for the struggle that it was. This leads me beautifully into another philosophy that has been very, very helpful and present in the last few years of my life, really kicking up around just before I started this whole channel. Just before I'd learned about it, and I really, really liked the concept of it. And I've been learning more about it since, and it's Taoism. Taoism is an ancient Eastern philosophy from China about a guy called Lao Tzu, who might not have existed. He wrote a book called the Tao Te Ching, which is very, very short. And ever since, Taoism has just taken on its own meaning because that's what philosophies and religions do. Personally, I do not follow Taoism like a religion. I'm sure there's a way that you could do that, but I do not. To me, the delineation here, the description is that a religion will have a some form of spiritual, and I'm talking like actual spirits or souls or God's connection. I don't think anyone specifically deifies Lao Tzu. I would not be surprised though. Human beings are very good at deifying other things. It also has to have some form of a practice, and I'm talking like ritualistic practice, like something that you try to do every day or every week. And then it has to have some underlying thesis and theorem from which informs every part of your life. And that is a very bare bones description of what a religion is. That is more or less my version of it. And yet, still, because I'm missing the ritualistic aspect and because I'm missing the more supernatural connection to something, like I still don't believe in a great beyond, I don't believe in any of these things, I don't consider it a religion. It's more just a philosophy for me. And another thing about it is that I'm quite the heretic in that I make it my own. I listen to the stories, I listen to what parts resonate with me, which parts I think are useful, and I follow those parts. And you're probably going to be able to guess if anyone has heard of Alan Watts. We're going full on 70s hippies. But the Tao of Pooh, as in Winnie the Pooh, there is one moment from it that is particularly where I derive so much of my personal philosophy from, and that is Piglet asks Pooh, or Pooh asks Piglet. Again, I don't read the book that much, but what day is it? He asks, "What day is it?" Yeah, Winnie the Pooh asks, "What day is it?" And then Piglet responds, "It is today." And Winnie the Pooh replies, "My favorite day." And that is the way that I try to live my Tao, my path. That's my Taoism. What day? It's today. Today's the best day ever because it's not yesterday, it's not tomorrow, it is today. Today is all you have. Today is now. It's the power of now. It's the secret. It's being in the present. It's all so time tested. You've heard it 100 times before. Doesn't make it wrong, doesn't make it right, but it works for me. And that's why I repeat it. And if you think I'm full of shit, turn it off. Go and find a different philosophy, a different religion. I do believe that everybody needs a philosophy to live by. The thing about religion, the thing that religion offers people is a pre-packaged set of philosophies by which to live many different aspects of your life. And you know what? Works great for you. I cannot square the idea of the existence of a deity no matter what. Even if I wear Thor's hammer and I have runes and I have a ring with runes and blah blah blah, and I love all these the aesthetic of an ancient Nordic religion, I don't think any of that happened. I just like the way it looks. And I like the philosophies and the mindsets and the aphorisms that I can derive from it today. So that's the disconnect for me when it comes to religions. I can't really bring myself to believe that any of the gods exist yet. I have not been presented with sufficient evidence, and it just doesn't make sense to me what a deity even would be. So, yeah, that is just, I wanted this to be a chat between me and you with some coffee because I want you to know that I love you. And I'm so grateful and thankful for everyone who's reached out, everyone who has been asking me for something like this. I will leave links to my new channel in the description, and I'm probably going to do a couple more on this channel. On my new channel, already I have done 3. One of them was called Radical Responsibility and how it's good for you, and the other one was called Holy hell, I'm already forgetting. I did one about, why Viking, and I entitled it Viking Improvement for Men. And the reason being is that I think there is obviously a big crisis among everybody. But men do need a bit of a helping hand, and men respond really well to a helping hand, and men respond really well to ancient warrior cultures. So, Vikings and everything. It's not going to strictly specifically be for men. I'm not going to become a red pill self help guru, self improvement YouTuber. I am not trying to be the guy who's telling that you gotta got a Bugatti. That's I'm not gonna do that. I'm not trying to fill that role. I don't want to be an Andrew Tate, is what I'm trying to say here. Not that, I mean, my channel has 500 views. I'm doing this for you. I'm not doing this for some massive worldwide clout, whatever. I don't care. If you derive useful messages from the things that I say, then thank I'm very thankful that you do. What am I thankful to? I kind of just sidestepped it there. I'm thankful to the gods. Screw it. Inconsistency has always been a hallmark of my life. Uh, but yeah. On the other one is called Honor It with Use, and it is a Viking mindset that I really, really appreciate. My ring right now is scratched and dented and beat to hell because I honor it with use. I Nothing is so precious to me that I will not wear it around me. I'm especially my body. I'm going to scar up and ruin my body. Like I've got a huge scar right down there. You can't really see it in this light, but I burned myself fire spinning, and I loved every moment of it. I love every moment of my life. It's just beautiful. Oh, it's hard to even describe to you guys, and I hope everyone doesn't think that I know that there are some of you who think that I'm completely full of it. That think I'm lying completely, that I'm chasing views, that I just want clicks and everything like that. But I love my life. I love my life. I want to share how much I love with all of you too, and I love you. I love you so much. Thank you to everyone. I will be doing more stuff for West the Wizard. My name is West, by the way. It actually is. It's short for Wesley. That's who I am. And I want you all to know that you have inspired me. So I'm getting back into it. I'm going to do some training videos, how to train like a Viking, how to train like a airbender. Excited for that one. Oh my gosh, one of the best comments I read from one of you guys was and when the world needed him most, he vanished. Compare me to the Avatar? Come on, guys. No, I just stop it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, it's been enough for now. This went longer than I thought it was going to, and I mean that. But thank you again. I love you. Goodbye.